The war had already lasted longer than anyone expected. Stars that once held trade stations and quiet colonies were now dark, broken, and silent. Human fleets moved from system to system, not to win, but to survive. Every battle cost ships, fuel, and lives. Still, humanity did not retreat. Captain Haniel Park stood on the command deck of the carrier mourning calm. The wide screen in front of him showed the enemy fleet at long range. Dozens of alien warships floated like sharp shadows against the distant light of a blue star. Their ships were larger than human ships, heavier, and built for long wars. They had better armor and stronger weapons. Everyone on the bridge knew this. Haniel Park kept his hands behind his back. His face was calm, almost quiet, but his thoughts were heavy. He had commanded fleets for 6 years of war. He had lost friends, pilots, engineers, and medics. He had learned that fear never truly left. It only learned how to stay silent. "Enemy fleet holding position," Era Kim said from the tactical station. Her voice was steady. She was young, but sharp, with eyes that missed nothing. "They are waiting for us to move first."
"How we wait?"
Haniel said. "They like to watch." Era nodded. The enemy watched humans the way a scientist watched insects. They studied every habit, every signal, every mistake. They believed humans were emotional and easy to break. On a lower deck, far from the command screen, the crew gathered in a wide open space near the hangar bay. Pilots, gunners, engineers, and support staff stood shoulder to shoulder. Some held helmets under their arms. Some clasped their hands. Some simply closed their eyes. Doyen Lee stood near a support pillar, his tablet resting against his chest. He was the lead weapons engineer, but right now, he looked like any other crew member. His lips moved slightly, but no sound came out. Nearby, Una Choi adjusted a medical pack on a wounded pilot who insisted on returning to duty. She finished her work, then joined the others. She lowered her head, just like the rest. This moment happened before every battle. Silence spread across the ship. Engines hummed softly. Lights dimmed just a little dot to the alien observers watching through long-range sensors. This moment looked strange. Human ships reduced activity. No weapons fired. No signals spiked. Hundreds of life signs remained still. The alien commanders recorded it carefully. They pause again. One alien analyst reported, "The ritual before conflict." The alien leaders had no word for prayer, but they understood ritual. In their culture, ritual meant weakness, tradition, and wasted time. "They feared death," another analyst said. "They prepare their minds for loss." The alien fleet did not attack yet. They preferred to strike when the humans moved first. They believed patience was strength. Back on the morning calm, Captain Haniel Park closed his eyes. He did not pray for victory. He remembered his first command. Years ago, when he believed courage meant shouting orders and standing tall, he had learned since then that real courage was quiet. It was staying calm when the cost was known. Around the ship, each human prayed in their own way. Some spoke words taught by family. Some remembered old songs. Some said nothing at all. What mattered was not the words, but the focus. Doyen Lee's fingers tapped lightly against his tablet. The movement was small and slow, hidden by his still posture. Each tap confirmed a weapons link. Each confirmation was masked as a routine system noise. Across the fleet, similar movements happened. No sudden energy spikes. No clear signals. Just normal background activity. Era Kim watched the sensor feed. She had noticed something weeks ago, during earlier battles. The aliens ignored low-energy data shifts during these silent moments. Their sensors were tuned to watch for power surges, engine burns, and weapon charges. They did not watch for calm. Captain Era said quietly over a private channel, "All units are aligned." Haniel did not open his eyes. Acknowledged. In the hangar bay, a young pilot named Sunwoo Park felt his hands shake. He was new. This was only his third battle. He was afraid, and he did not try to deny it. He remembered his father's voice, calm and firm, telling him that fear was not shame. Fear meant you understood what was at stake. Sun Wu breathed slowly. When he opened his eyes, the shaking stopped. The prayer ended without sound. There was no signal to mark it. No announcement. The crew simply returned to their stations. On the command deck, lights brightened back to normal levels. Status, Hanyul said. All systems green, Doyen replied from engineering. Weapons ready. Era nodded at her screen. Enemy fleet still holding. No change in posture. Well, Hanyul allowed himself a small breath. The calm was still there. The human fleet did not attack. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The alien commanders grew curious. Humans often acted quickly after their ritual. This time, they did nothing. They hesitate, an alien officer said. Perhaps doubt has taken hold. The alien fleet advanced slightly, closing the distance. On the morning calm, no one reacted. Hanyul watched the enemy approach. He knew this battle would not end today. This was only the opening move. Maintain position, he said. The human fleet remained still, far from the front lines. In a secure human data hub, analysts studied recordings of past battles. They noted how often aliens attacked right after the prayer moments. The pattern was clear. The aliens believed prayer was weakness. That belief had already cost them ships. Back on the morning comm, Yuna Choi moved through the medical bay, checking supplies and preparing stretchers. She had learned to work fast, but she also learned to wait. Panic wasted energy. Calm saved lives. She remembered her first battle, how she had cried afterward, alone in a storage room. She still cried sometimes, but never before a fight. On the bridge, Era Kim adjusted a sensor filter. She focused on enemy formation spacing. There was a rhythm to it, like breathing. She wondered how long it would take the aliens to realize humans were not breathing in fear. But in control, the alien fleet finally stopped advancing. They are testing us, Era said. Let them, Hanyul replied. The stars outside did not change. They watched silently as they always had. For the aliens, this moment confirmed their belief. Humans paused before battle. Humans slowed themselves with emotion. For humanity, this moment was preparation, not for survival, for precision. The battle would come later. When it did, the aliens would finally understand that the quiet moment they mocked was not a plea. It was alignment. And the war was far from over. The standoff did not last forever. It never did. Space was wide, but war always found a way to close distance. The alien fleet moved first. Their ships advanced in a slow, confident line, weapons charging openly. Bright energy flared along their hulls, clear and proud. They wanted the humans to see their strength. They wanted fear. On the bridge of the morning calm, the alarms remained quiet. Screens filled with clean data instead of red warnings. Enemy weapons charging, Era Kim said. Heavy cannons and missile bays. Captain Hanyul Park nodded once. They want us to panic. They will be disappointed, Ara replied. Across the human fleet, ships shifted formation by small degrees. The movements looked random to outside observers, but each change followed a shared plan. Every ship knew its place. Every pilot knew their angle. Doyan Lee stood in the engineering control room, eyes moving across lines of data. The new targeting network was active, but still hidden. It spoke in quiet pulses, small enough to blend into background noise. He remembered the long nights building it. One piece at a time, while enemy fleets burned human colonies. He remembered the question that drove him forward. How do you fight an enemy who watches everything? The answer was simple. You let them see what you want them to see. The alien commanders observed the human response with interest. Humans did not retreat. They did not rush forward either. They hold position again, one alien officer said. No sign of fear. Fear comes later, another replied. When losses begin, alien fleet fired first. Energy beams crossed the space between fleets, bright and violent. Human point defense systems activated instantly. Interceptor fire bloomed like brief stars, cutting down incoming missiles. The first exchange was loud but controlled. Minimal damage, Era reported. Shield loss within expected range. Return fire, Hanil said. Human ships answered with sharp focus strikes. Not a full barrage. Just enough. The aliens noticed this. They restrained themselves, an alien analyst said. They conserve power. The battle stretched on. Ships traded fire. Fighters launched and returned. Damage reports came and went. Through it all, the human fleet moved like a single body. In the medical bay, Yuna Choi treated burns and fractures. She worked with quiet focus, hands steady, even when the deck shook. Around her, injured crew members watched her calm face and found their own breathing slow. Will we win? A young gunner asked her. Yuna did not lie. We will survive this battle. For humans, survival was victory enough. The alien fleet pressed harder. More ships moved forward. Their confidence grew as human shields weakened. They think they are breaking us, Ura said. They always think that, Hanyul replied. Then came the second prayer. It did not happen all at once. One by one, human ships reduced active output. Weapon fire slowed. Fighter wings pulled back. Silence spread again. On the morning calm, the crew stood from their stations. Some leaned against consoles. Some closed their eyes. Doyen Lee rested his hands on the console, fingers still. Behind the stillness, the targeting network deepened its link. More data flowed. Enemy ship heat patterns. Shield rotation cycles. Command signal delays. Era Kim watched the enemy fleet through sensors tuned to human vision. She noticed how alien formations tightened when humans went quiet. They are confused. She said softly, confusion leads to mistakes, Hanyul said. The alien commanders reacted quickly. They pause again, one said. Now, while damaged? This confirms it, another replied. The ritual drains their resolve. The order went out. Full assault. Alien ships surged forward. Engines flared bright. Weapon systems overloaded their own safety limits. They would break the human line with force. The prayer ended. Human. Ships came alive. The targeting network locked. For the first time, human weapons fired as one, not wildly. Not in rage, with intent. Human strikes cut through space with deadly accuracy. Enemy command ships lost communication arrays. Carrier bays exploded before fighters could launch. Shield nodes failed in precise sequence. Ara's screen filled with clean hits. They're losing coordination, she said. Fast. On the alien flagship, confusion spread. How did they predict this? An officer demanded. They were silent, another said. We saw no preparation. The alien commander stared at the tactical display. Human fire did not chase targets. It waited, then struck where ships would be, not where they were. They are not reacting, the commander said slowly. They are aiming ahead. Back on the morning calm, Hanyul Park watched the battle unfold. He felt no joy, only responsibility. Maintain pattern, he ordered. No pursuit. Human ships obeyed. The alien fleet began to pull back, disorganized and damaged. Several ships were lost. Others fled with wounded hulls. The battle ended without celebration. Human crews returned to stations. Damaged teams moved. Medics worked. Yuna Choi sat for a moment, letting herself breathe. She had learned that pauses mattered. Even after battle, Doyunli leaned back in his chair, eyes closed. The network had worked better than expected. The aliens still did not understand. Era Kim reviewed sensor logs. She highlighted one detail again and again. The aliens never scanned. Deeply during prayer, they never imagined humans could prepare in silence. On the alien flagship, the commander filed a new report. Human ritual behavior appears linked to combat effectiveness, he dictated. Recommend further study. The tone had changed. The report no longer spoke of weakness. It spoke of uncertainty, and uncertainty was the first crack. Far away, the stars continued their slow, patient burn. The war moved forward. Step by step, and the humans kept praying. Not because they were afraid, but because they were learning exactly how their enemy thought. The alien fleet did not flee far. They regrouped beyond the edge of the system, damaged but not defeated. Their ships still outnumbered the humans. Their factories still burned hot in distant stars. They believed they had learned something important. They believed the human ritual was a trigger on the morning calm. Repairs continued without pause. Hull plates were sealed. Burned conduits were replaced. The ship carried scars now, long black marks along its side. But it still held together. Captain Haniel Park walked the decks instead of staying on the bridge. He passed engineers covered in grease and pilots sleeping against walls. He nodded to them. Not as a commander above them, but as one of them. Morale did not come from speeches. It came from being seen in the strategy room. Era Kim stood before a wide display of the battlefield. She replayed the last engagement again and again, slowing it down, then slowing it more. Her eyes followed alien ship movements during the moments of prayer. "They still don't look," she said quietly. Doyan Li leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "They think they understand us now." "That makes them more dangerous," Era replied. Doyan nodded. Misunderstanding was safer than false understanding. In the medical bay, Unichoi finished treating the last of the wounded. No one had died in the last battle. That alone felt like a miracle. She logged reports, then paused, hands resting on the console. She thought about the prayer. She had seen different kinds of belief during the war. Some people prayed to live. Some prayed to die with meaning. Some prayed because it was the only quiet they had left. For her, prayer was a reminder that every body on her table was a life, not a number. The alien commanders held their own council. Their language carried sharp tones and rapid exchanges. Data streams flowed between them. "The ritual coincides with precision attacks," one commander said. "Yes," another replied, "but it is still emotional behavior. We must disrupt it." A third voice joined. "We strike during the ritual. Overwhelm them before they finish." Agreement followed. The plan was simple. Break the prayer. The alien fleet returned sooner than expected. Their ships entered the system at multiple points, spreading wide. They wanted to force the humans to react, to rush, to lose calm. On the morning calm, alarms sounded. "Multiple enemy groups," Era reported. "They are dividing us." "They want speed," Haniel said. "We will give them patience." Human ships adjusted formation. Smaller task groups formed, each moving with careful control. No ship acted alone. Doyan Li activated secondary nodes in the targeting network. The system adapted, spreading intelligence instead of concentrating it. Even if one ship fell, the network would survive. The first clashes were sharp and violent. Smaller battles erupted across the system. Human ships held, but pressure mounted. Then came the moment the aliens waited for. Human ships slowed again. The prayer began. This time, the alien fleet did not wait. "Attack now," the alien commander ordered. Maximum output. Alien ships surged forward with brutal force. Weapons fired without restraint. Energy floods lit space like a storm. On human ships, the prayer continued. Crew members closed their eyes while the hull shook. Some whispered words. Some only breathed. Sunwoo Park sat in his fighter cockpit, hands resting lightly on the controls. Fear rose in him, sharp and cold. He let it pass through him. It's like he had been taught. Doyan Li's console showed red warnings as enemy fire struck nearby ships. He did not rush. He completed the last synchronization cycle. Era Kim watched the enemy advance patterns. She saw it clearly now. They're overcommitting. She said the prayer ended. Human response was instant. Defense systems flared first, catching the worst of the assault. Then the counterfire began. This time, the humans did not just disable, they dismantled. Alien ships lost engines in clean strikes. Weapon cores detonated before full charge. Formation leaders vanished, leaving gaps that spread like cracks in ice. The alien assault collapsed into chaos. "They rushed," Ara said. "Just like we thought." They broke their own balance, Hanyul replied. Sunwoo Park launched with his wing cutting through debris and fire, his targeting reticle locked with ease. The system guided his shots, but the choice to fire was still his. He did not hesitate. The battle was harder than the last. Human ships took damage. Lives were lost this time. Unichoi worked without stopping, hands moving from patient to patient, blood on her sleeves. Still, the alien fleet pulled back again. This time, they did not chase. Silence followed. On the alien flagship, the commander stared at the losses. They attacked during the ritual, an officer said, and still failed. Commander said nothing for a long time. Finally, he spoke. The ritual is not delay, he said. It is discipline. The word tasted strange. Back on the morning calm, the human crew gathered once more. This prayer was for the dead. No one spoke loudly. No one looked away. Hanyul Park bowed his head with the rest. He felt the weight of command settle. Deeper into him, the enemy was learning. That meant the war would grow harder. But it also meant something important. Humanity was no longer invisible. They were being understood, and that understanding came too late. The stars outside burned on, cold and distant. The next battle would decide much more than territory. It would decide whether the enemy could ever truly break the quiet strength they now feared. The pause after the last battle felt heavier than the fighting itself. Wreckage drifted through the system like dark snow. Broken holes spun slowly, still warm, still dangerous. The human fleet held position. They did not chase the enemy. They did not celebrate. They repaired, counted, and remembered. Captain Hanyul Park stood at the wide viewing panel of the morning calm. He watched a damaged escort ship being towed into formation. Its engines were gone, but its crew was alive. Alive mattered. Reports, he said. Arakim stepped closer, her tablet glowing. We lost 3 ships. Heavy damage on 5 more. Enemy losses are higher. Command ships destroyed or disabled. Hanyul nodded once. They will change their plan. They already are, Ara replied. Long-range probes just entered the system. Deep scans. Doyon Lee frowned from the engineering station. They're trying to watch us during the quiet. They still won't see what matters, Hanyul said. The alien commanders had learned fear, but fear did not stop them. It sharpened them. Their fleet did not return in a single mass. Instead, small groups appeared at the edge of the system and vanished again. Probes moved in strange patterns. Signals echoed and faded. They are listening, Ara said. Waiting for prayer. They think they can interrupt it, Doyon said. In the medical bay, Unichoi sat with a pilot who had lost an arm. He stared at the ceiling, eyes empty. It's over, she told him gently. You're safe, he nodded, but did not speak. Una stayed with him longer than required. She had learned that healing was not just repair, it was presence. The next attack came without warning. Alien fire struck a distant human patrol group, fast and brutal. 2 ships were crippled before they could react. They're baiting us, Yada said as alarm spread across the fleet. They want us to rush, Hanyul replied. Human ships moved, but not wildly. Task groups formed and closed around the damaged patrol ships. Defensive screens flared. Then the alien struck again, closer this time. The battle spread like fire. Human crews fought while knowing another prayer was coming. Fear pressed harder now. The enemy was closer. The damage was real. Still, when the moment came, the fleet slowed. Silence returned. Alien probes flooded the space between ships. Sensors reached deep, searching for spikes, surges, signs of weakness. They found none. Doyon Lee guided the targeting network through layered paths. The system bent around the probes, feeding them noise instead of truth. They're blind, he said quietly. Era watched enemy ships tighten their formations. Preparing to strike the moment the silence broke, they think this is the opening. It is, Hanyul replied. The prayer ended. This time, the human fleet did not wait. They fired first. The opening strikes shattered the probes and cut deep into enemy lines. Alien ships reeled as command links failed all at once. Human ships moved forward, controlled and precise. Fighters slipped through gaps that should not have existed. Sun Woo Park flew at the edge of his limits. His hands were steady, his breathing slow. He trusted the system, but more than that, he trusted the people behind it. He saw an alien cruiser turn too late. He fired. The battle burned bright and short. The enemy had planned for interruption. They had not planned for certainty on the alien flagship. Panic broke through discipline. They anticipated us, an officer said. They aimed before we moved, another whispered. The commander's voice was low and hard. They choose the moment, not us. The alien fleet began a full retreat. Human ships did not pursue far. They held the line and let the enemy go. Afterward, silence felt different, not heavy. Resolved, HFY moved among the wounded again. There were losses, but fewer than expected. She closed the eyes of the dead and whispered thanks to those who lived. Doyon Lee powered down the network slowly. His hands trembled now that it was over. Ara Kim compiled her final report. Her conclusion was simple. The enemy now feared the quiet. On the morning calm, the crew gathered once more. The prayer this time was brief. Captain Haniel Park spoke after it ended. They are learning, he said. So must we. No cheers followed. Only nods. The war was not finished, but something had changed. The enemy no longer mocked the silence. They ran from it. And in that truth, humanity found not pride, but purpose. The final battle was coming, and when it did, the quiet would speak louder than any weapon. The final battle did not begin with noise. It began with movement. Alien fleets gathered beyond the system in numbers never seen before. Their ships filled space like a dark tide. This was not a test or a raid. This was the end they had chosen. Human sensors detected them days in advance. On the morning calm, Captain Haniel Park studied the display in silence. He knew this battle would decide the war. There would be no retreat after this. No slow rebuilding. Only an answer. They're bringing everything, Ara Kim said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were tight around her tablet. Every major command group. They want certainty, Hanuel replied. So do we. Across the human fleet, ships assembled into a single formation. Damaged vessels stayed back, protected. Every working weapon was placed with care. Doyen Li stood at the heart of the targeting network. The system was complete now. It had grown through every battle, every quiet moment. It no longer felt like a machine. It felt like a shared thought. They won't be able to read this, he said softly, no matter how hard they look. In the medical bays, Unichoi prepared for the worst. Supplies were laid out. Teams were assigned. She checked each station twice. She did not pray for mercy. She prayed for strength. Fighter. Pilots gathered in their launch bays. Sun Woo Park sat in his cockpit, eyes closed, breathing slow. He remembered the fear he once felt. It was still there. But it no longer controlled him. He opened his eyes when the signal came. The enemy fleet advanced. This time, they did not hesitate. They did not probe. They charged forward, weapons blazing, determined to crush the human line before silence could take hold. The first exchange was massive. Space burned with fire and light. Human shields strained. Ships shook. Hold formation, Hanuel ordered. His voice cut through the chaos. Human ships held. Then, slowly, deliberately, the fleet grew quiet. Weapons powered down. Engines softened. Signals flattened, the prayer began. To the aliens, it was terrifying. They're doing it again, an alien officer said. Now, in the middle of this, break it, the commander ordered. All fire. Now. Alien weapons overloaded as they poured everything into the attack. On human ships, Crew members stood still while the storm raged around them. Some closed their eyes. Some held hands. Some whispered names of people they loved. Doyan Lee guided the final alignment. Every weapon, every ship, every angle, Ara Kim watched the enemy fleet rush forward. Dense and eager. "They're committing fully," she said. "That's what we needed," Hanyul replied. The prayer ended. Humanity answered. The targeting network lit up fully for the first time. Human weapons fired in perfect harmony, not as individual ships, but as one will. The first strikes shattered the heart of the alien fleet. Command vessels vanished in controlled explosions. Energy cores collapsed. Shield chains failed in sequence. Alien formations broke apart, not slowly but all at once. Sunwoo Park flew through the opening like an arrow. His shots landed exactly where the system guided him. But it was his choice to pull the trigger. He felt no hatred, only clarity. On the alien flagship, systems failed faster than they could be repaired. The commander watched the battle slip beyond control. "They aimed before we moved," he said. The realization settled heavily. Humans did not pray to ask. They prayed to decide. The alien fleet collapsed. Ships fled or went dark. The war ended not with a final explosion, but with retreat. Silence returned. This time, it held human ships remained in formation, watching the enemy disappear into the dark. On the morning calm, no one cheered. Captain Hanyul Park lowered his head. The final prayer was for the fallen, for those who would never return home. Unichoi closed the last medical report. Tears ran down her face, and she did not hide them. Doyan Lee shut down the network with care. His hands shook, but he smiled. Ara Kim looked at the stars and let herself breathe. Humanity had survived, not because they were stronger, not because they were faster, but because they understood themselves far away. Alien records would mark this battle as a turning point. They would write of human silence with fear, respect. They would never forget the moment humans grew quiet, because that was when the targeting began, and that was when the war was decided. More data flowed. Enemy ship heat patterns, shield rotation cycles, command signal delays. Ara Kim watched the enemy fleet through sensors tuned to human vision. She noticed how alien formations tightened when humans went quiet. "They are confused," she said softly. "Confusion leads to mistakes," Hanyul said. The alien commanders reacted quickly. "They pause again," one said. "Now, while damaged, this confirms it," another replied. "The ritual drains their resolve." The order went out. Full assault. Alien ships surged forward. Engines flared bright. Weapon systems overloaded their own safety limits. They would break the human line with force. The prayer ended. Human ships came alive. The targeting network locked. For the first time, human weapons fired as one, not wildly, not enraged, with intent. Human strikes cut through space with deadly accuracy. Enemy command ships lost communication arrays. Carrier bays exploded before fighters could launch. Shield nodes failed in precise sequence. Ara's screen filled with clean hits. "They're losing coordination," she said. Fast. On the alien flagship, confusion spread. "How did they predict this?" an officer demanded. "They were silent," another said. "We saw no preparation." The alien commander stared at the tactical display. Human fire did not chase targets. It waited, then struck where ships would be, not where they were. "They are not reacting," the commander said slowly. "They are aiming ahead." Back on the morning calm, Hanyul Park watched the battle unfold. He felt no joy, only responsibility. "Maintain pattern," he ordered. No pursuit. Human ships obeyed. The alien fleet began to pull back, disorganized and damaged. Several ships were lost. Others fled with wounded hulls. The battle ended without celebration. Human crews returned to stations. Damaged teams moved. Medics worked. Yuna Choi sat for a moment, letting herself breathe. She had learned that pauses mattered. Even after battle, Doyan Li leaned back in his chair, eyes closed. The network had worked better than expected. The aliens still did not understand. Era Kim reviewed sensor logs. She highlighted one detail again and again. The aliens never scanned deeply during prayer. They never imagined humans could prepare in silence. On the alien flagship, the commander filed a new report. Human ritual behavior appears linked to combat effectiveness, he dictated. Recommend further study. But the tone had changed. The report no longer spoke of weakness. It spoke of uncertainty. And uncertainty was the first crack, far away. The stars continued their slow, patient burn. The war moved forward, step by step, and the humans kept praying, not because they were afraid,